please do note this also. It doesn't mean that you do this in a way that you catch falling knives. Again, the end of the day also is to follow what your strategy is, and it should not change just because there are disclosures like this. It should not change just because there are things that are not so positive, there are things that are not so exciting or bullish. Hey guys, so I want to talk about some strategies that you can deploy right now, especially that there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of uncertainty, there's a lot of doubt. It's totally understandable because even if you look at where the US market is, we've seen consecutive drops over the past few weeks of different sectors in the US markets, and a lot of it is also springboard on the US Fed trying to increase rates, which, as you all know, is bad for the equity market. The looming recession that everyone's trying to foresee that it could possibly bring markets lower. So please do remember this, similar to what happened in March 2020, every time that there's news about recessions, every time that there's news about uncertainty, a lot of people, a lot of investors, the common narrative is they want to stay in cash. They want to protect whatever position that they have, because I'll say this over and over that investors don't like uncertainty. Investors don't like not knowing where things will actually be headed. But I will also say this, similar and very, very consistent to what I said in March 2020, in times where it's scary, in times where there's maximum risk, in times that there's maximum fear, that's where your upside will also be bigger. When you do the things that are opposite as compared to what everyone else is doing, that's when you have the ability to be able to find opportunities that not everyone will get into. So every time it feels safe, every time that there's signs of recovery, that actually means that potential fears are somehow tapered. And when potential fears are also somehow tapered, it removes the ability for you to get a larger amount of upside. If you try to compare everything head to head, you look at the crypto market, you look at the US market, you look at the Philippine stock market in March 2020 versus say May or June 2020, for those who entered when it was at the height of the lockdowns, when we didn't know what the virus was yet, we didn't know how to combat it yet, we didn't know how long it would actually last, they were the ones who were able to pick it up at lower prices versus the ones who came in a few weeks or a few months later. And the same is true also now. But please do note this also. It doesn't mean that you do this in a way that you catch falling knives. Again, the end of the day also is to follow what your strategy is. And it should not change just because there are disclosures like this. It should not change just because there are things that are not so positive. There are things that are not so exciting or bullish. And please do note this, that if you look at March 2020 as a template, a few months later, everyone forgot about the markets dropping also. And that's what we saw with Tesla. That's what we saw with a lot of those tech stocks. That's what we saw with a lot of those stay-at-home stocks. That's what we saw with Bitcoin also. So why am I saying this? The stock that would possibly do better also in this cycle, or at least in this year, may be different from 2020, but the rule and the narrative will always be the same. The principles of investing will always be the same. As long as you are going into the ones that have quality, you are investing in the ones that you know over the long term will have staying power, then getting into them when times are a bit scary gives you the ability to position at a lower price. And please do note this, it's not about getting the lowest, it's not about forecasting where the bottom is, because true enough, no one will know where the bottom is. No one can forecast how low things will go. No one has a crystal ball to actually say that the markets will be this low or go this low or hit this particular price point at this certain date and at this certain time. No one can do that. I've been in the markets for close to 15 years already, and no one could actually predict and say that this is what will generally happen over this particular time for this particular asset class. No one can actually do that. So instead of just looking at it from that perspective, look at it from a perspective of cycles. And I said this over and over in 2020 that markets move in cycles. Markets drop, but after every drop also follows a recovery. And as you saw also during the time when the market was zooming up, regardless if it's the US, the Philippine, or the crypto markets, I would also say also that it's also a cycle, that it won't also go up forever. And that's what we're actually also seeing right now. We are at a point also where we're seeing portions of the market start to dip, start to go down, where it's very, very far from its all-time high. If you look at Apple, if you look at Tesla, if you look at Bitcoin, if you look at a lot of the major stocks that a lot of people have been monitoring, they're very, very far from the peak of where they were. They were very, very far also when everyone was so optimistic and excited about all of these things. And this time, in this era, I really believe that There's still so much opportunity around. In this time, in this era, there's still a lot of things that you can actually do for you to be better. And I want to address people who are long-term in the market. I've said this over and over during March 2020 that it's okay for you to invest right now as long as your timeline is very, very long, as long as you are not in debt, as long as you still have cash flow, meaning you have an amount of money that's stable, that's coming in on a regular basis, that even in times of uncertainty, your lifestyle won't change. The way you live your life won't change. It does not have a threat to what your employment is, or even if you're a business person, you still have predictability of that. Then you also have your savings, you also have a cash position, and then above and beyond that, you're diversified in a way that even if you invest right now in times of uncertainty, your positions in your other assets, regardless if it's real estate, regardless if it's a franchise, or regardless if it's apartment buildings, or if it's preferred shares or bonds or Pag-ibig MP2, is still there to anchor you. And you are just investing right now because you know it's something that's sound to do. It's something that will give you alpha. It's something that will give you a higher rate of return. It's something that you are positioning for today, not thinking of what it will be in the next 2 weeks, the next 2 months, but you want to stack something for you to be able to position when a recovery happens. Because I'll say this over and over, if drops, recessions, and bearish markets happen and are cyclical, then reversals upward and bullish markets are also cyclical. It's not a question whether they will happen, it's only a question of when, but a bigger question is what you are doing. So maybe at this time, I think you have to be more selective. If you're long-term in it, you have to be selective in the ones that stocks that will be good, stocks that have revenue, stocks that have dividends, stocks that have a durable competitive advantage, crypto that has been tried and tested, cryptos that have been there for a long time, cryptos that have a large market cap, cryptos that have staying power, cryptos that have utility, and for every asset class that you want to position on. You just have to be selective but also diversified in a way that you pick the good ones, but you don't put everything in just that one thing. You can diversify into a select number of issues, but you don't also in a way over diversify. Oh, I'm gonna buy 20 of this, 30 of this, also that thinking that if all of them go down because I'm diversified into 20 positions, I'll be okay. Do not over diversify, but be more strategic, be more selective, but being prudent also in a way that don't have a crystal ball and you don't know which are the ones that will do well. While Luna was dropping, opportunities could be found also when people already knew it was depegged. Shorting happened. While Luna was going down, people who shorted were able to benefit from it. Or in the same way, when Luna dropped for 5 decimal places already and people were measuring its market cap, it happened very, very fast, so it didn't really stay that long. When it dropped that much, people started to stack also and started to position, and they were able to reap the benefits when it moved certain decimal places as well. In uncertain times, there are opportunities. You don't have to panic. You don't have to be scared. If you feel emotional, step back. Look at it from a logical point of view. Look at it from a perspective of, what's my plan? Does this drop push me to deviate from your plan? If it causes you to deviate from your plan, then maybe you need to take a step back, not transact first, because the worst thing that you could ever do is transact when you are emotional. Mistakes will be made when you transact out of fear. Mistakes will be made when you transact out of greed. Mistakes will be made when you stay away from your plan or you veer away from your plan. So please do remember this. Even if you have a plan, or even if you strategize, or even if you study, it doesn't mean you won't make mistakes. It doesn't mean that it will be a perfect game. But what's nice about that is when you follow a strategy, you follow a plan, you don't deviate from it. It builds skill, it builds experience, it builds acumen. All of these are cyclical. In the crypto market, it's just maybe more volatile. The swings are just radically bigger, but they happen over and over and over and over. And the next time this happens, the more skill, experience, and acumen you have, you already know what to do. You already will have a certain narrative of how you will move past this, and the next time this happens also, you won't be as emotional, you will be more strategic. And I speak that to all of you, and I do hope that as we build and build and build in this channel, that this gives you a greater understanding of what you're supposed to do, because I just really want more people watching this, regardless if you're Filipino or regardless of what your nationality is, that this channel gives you value and helps you weave through the markets. So to put this to a close, strategize. There are opportunities. Be more selective. Go into quality. The greater the uncertainty, the greater the risk, the greater the upside. It's okay to position when everyone's scared. However, also to balance that out. Don't do that if you're in debt. Don't do that if you don't have savings. Don't do that if you don't have cash flow. Don't do that if you're at a point in your life that whatever you're putting in will highly damage the way you live or your lifestyle, or if it hits you or if it goes to zero, your finances would be hit substantially. And it's okay if you don't get to put a lot, as long as you get to protect your cash flow, as long as you get to protect your savings, and ultimately you get to protect your peace of mind. At the end of the day, the most important thing that you need to protect is your peace of mind. The most important thing that you need to protect is the way you think. If that gets hit, if your peace of mind, if your investments take away peace from you, then it's not worth it. No amount of money is worth losing sleep over. No amount of money is worth losing peace of mind over. If you want to learn more about investing, check out the links that I have in the description below. We have investment 101 classes, we have technical and fundamental analysis. I also have books written in all of this. And if you want to own a hardware wallet, check it out down below. We have a biometric hardware wallet. And if you want to sign up and start investing in the cryptocurrency market, we have different platforms that you can choose from. So that's it for now. If you guys have any questions, feel free to put it down below and I'll try to answer you to the best of my abilities. This is Marvin Germo. I hope this video helps you trade well, trade strong, trade smart. See you all again soon, and God bless you all.